Happens.
My Lords, I beg to ask the question standing to my name on the order paper.
I'm here again. The United Kingdom is disappointed that adoption of the IMO net zero framework has been delayed by a year. This stalls crucial efforts to give the maritime sector regulatory certainty and respond swiftly to the urgent threat of climate change. We remain committed to working with the other IMO states to secure adoption of the framework next year. We hope that the regulations can take effect as soon as possible, potentially in 2029 at the earliest.
I thank the noble Lord for his response. My Lords, given the urgency for climate action and the industry's need for certainty, does the noble Lord the Minister agree it is vital to maintain momentum despite the IMO delay? Will the Government commit to continuing its input during the intersessional period, helping shape the technical framework, building consensus and ensuring the competitiveness of the UK shipping industry is supported in the final agreement?
The simple answer to the noble Lord is yes. Adopting the IMO net zero framework is vital for climate action and giving industry the certainty it needs to make net zero shipping a reality. The UK will maximise its effort, as he suggests, to maintain momentum so the framework can be adopted next year. We are committed to working with others at the IMO, which we are honoured to host here in London, and industry generally to progress the necessary intersessional work to shape the framework's technicalities.
My Lords, while welcoming the IMO decision, it's a shame, as other noble lords have said, that it's been delayed. But when it actually comes into effect, who is going to police the enforcement of lower emissions from ships on a worldwide basis? It sounds a pretty horrendous task.
The purpose of the IMO, of course, is to have an international way of policing things, because shipping is necessarily carried out at sea. So policing in the sense in which you'd know it in communities doesn't work. The way it works is that the IMO resolves as a whole to have binding regulations, and that is what's being discussed at the moment. I think what's important is that we desperately need to give some certainty to people who invest large sums of money into the long term on this, and this government is determined to drive this forward in order to give that certainty, both for decarbonisation and for the healthy shipping market.
My Lords, last week in London, only 49 of the 127 delegates, that's something just about a third, voted for the net zero framework. Does the Minister agree with me that the IMO would be well advised to focus a little bit more time in the interregnum on things like the uninsured dark fleet, unwinding the insanity where the charterer pays the ship owners' ballast legs, and not penalising those large ships, which are significantly more fuel efficient than the small ones per freight tonne?
I recognise the noble Lord has extensive experience, but I think that he must agree that the subject under discussion, which is the decision to defer last week, is far from the only thing that the International Maritime Organisation does. Some of the things he's listed are, of course, very important, and I've no doubt that we will press the IMO not only to move forward with the decarbonisation agenda, but also deal with the things on his list.
These really important negotiations were effectively torpedoed by the Trump administration using quite unpleasant tactics at the last moment. So can I take this opportunity to ask the Minister what reassessment the UK government is making of how we can further our international climate objectives with those who support us in the wake of a more hostile American administration?
If we're to play the role that we should in the IMO, then we have to respect the policy positions of other IMO member states. That means working with people who support our position, trying to persuade those who don't that they're wrong and they should change, and that's precisely what we will continue to do with new vigour following last week's decision.
My Lord.
Lords, I agree with my noble friend that the decision of the IMO was very disappointing. But he will know that UK shipbuilders and designers are actually at the forefront of options for green shipping. Can you give a commitment from the government that that will continue in despite of this delay?
I thank my noble friend. He's absolutely right. UK shipbuilders and designers are in the forefront, and that's why it's very important for this government to continue to support those efforts, because we need that for our economy. We need it for our position on climate change, and what's good for the country ought to be good for the world.
Lord, following up the very telling question from the noble Lord Berkeley, is an answer to policing not possibly the use of drones?
I'm afraid I'm not qualified to judge whether or not flying drones over major oceans is going to work in this respect. I will certainly take that suggestion back to my department and see whether or not they can make sense of it.
My Lords, given the apparently implacable hostility of the United States administration and the very low number of states that did actually vote for this framework in London last week, is the government not deluding itself in thinking that one more heave and we'll achieve it next year? Would it not be better if the IMO, guided by the government, were to focus, as my noble friend suggests, Lord Fuller, on the question of the dark fleet, which is being used to ship sanctioned oil around the world in a way that only benefits dictators? Would it not be sensible to get real about some of these things?
Yeah, very good.
I think the noble Lord needs to recognise that a worldwide organisation like the IMO can do more things than one at the same time. And what he says about the dark fleet and what the noble Lord had previously said about the dark fleet is right, and the IMO should challenge it and do what it can about it. But he just heard that UK shipbuilders and designers are in the forefront of designing new low and no carbon shipping, and it would be an awful shame if the opposition benches weren't to support a good piece of British economy which has the potential to sell not only in Britain but around the world.
My Lords, my Lords, following up on the Noble Earl's point, the Trump administration unequivocally rejected the net zero framework, but it went much further than that. It issued warnings on measures it could take against countries voting against the framework, including blocking vessels from US ports, imposing new regulation and extra visa restrictions, and applying commercial penalties on government contracts. What is the Minister's reaction to this kind of pressure?
My reaction to that sort of pressure is that we're a member of the IMO, we're an important member. We need to persuade others to support us, and following last Friday's decision, we will renew our efforts with those who also support us to persuade people who don't agree with us that this is the right thing for international shipping, it's the right thing for low carbon. We have an important place in the world, and we need to pursue those arguments at the IMO and outside it in order to make progress.
We should all recognise that that carbon emissions from shipping is a significant contributor to global warming. Is there any possibility, given the difficulty of global agreement, for any sort of regional agreement and regional enforcement on a European scale for vessels that pass through the Channel, visit European ports across the North Sea? We're conscious that if there were regulation of ships passing through the English Channel, the dark fleet would be affected. If ships in the Marshall Islands, registered in the Marshall Islands, came into European ports and were refused permission to unload there would be some sort of resource of enforcement. Can the Minister give some attention to the possibility of some regional enforcement mechanism?
I will certainly take away the noble Lord's suggestion of regional action, but it isn't the same as a worldwide agreement to change the way change emissions from shipping, and we shouldn't shy away from trying to persuade people of that, not least because actually the technology used will always be better and cheaper if it's used worldwide than it would be only in one region of the world.
My Lord.